But I thought I'd put this together since I was doing it for people that like to fix their cars and if they have this problem. It's a P1549, but it's also intake manifold gaskets and redoing the intake manifold, pulling it out and redoing it. So any of that work on the intake manifold, which the P4, the tuning valve, you have to pull it out to do that. That's what this video is about. Okay, all right, take care. It's Michael Riley once again. And if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, it's a 2002 Ford Expedition 4.6 V8, and it's the problem is a P1549 hard code, which is the intake manifold. People call it different names. On the 2002 Ford Expedition, it was named IMT, intake manifold tuning valve. The other ones are runner valves and everything. They all use different words on different models, different years. But this one's an IMT intake manifold tuning valve. And the part is no longer available, but I do have a replacement for it. So I was able to get this fixed. It's if I show you here, that's it right there, and it's down underneath in the air breather of the intake. Okay, so back to the job at hand. I'm going to be putting the intake back in. I also have a new throttle body, and new injectors, new plugs, you know, everything while you're doing it. You don't want to pull this stuff you don't want to stop and do the repair again. Different, you know, plugs or whatever. So just I'm putting everything in at once. It's about 1,100 bucks. I've got an aluminum, if you noticed. It's an aluminum. Where's the other one? Oh, if you look over there, right up there, you can see the plastic one. I'm not using that. Why put a plastic one in when I have aluminum and the aluminum's not damaged? Biggest problem they have with the plastic ones is that the in the front here, I'll show you the front here, you've got right here, here's your coolant, goes through the front, and on the plastic ones, they crack. So I'm not going to be taking that chance. Why make it worse when I've got an aluminum one that's not going to crack? So I'm going to start putting it back together. I'll be stopping and starting as I'm going. Putting bolts in, I'm not going to be, you're not going to see that. You know how to do that. But just the procedure. Putting the tuning valve in was once I get the whole intake out, you can't take it out. Here's the you can't take it out with the intake in place. It's not possible. That's the that's the old one, and you can see it's got a two-plug, two-prong connector. 1.7 ohms is what it, the new one read. This one was open, so the coil was bad. So it was pretty obvious when I wasn't able to get in there into the leads and check it though when I was doing with it in place. It's just the connectors are over to the side, and down inside the well here, there's not enough room. This is in the way. There's like this much room to work between that valve and this is where your opposite side of the water pump. There's just not enough room in there. That's why you got to pull it out. It's just ridiculous. If you'd engineered it better, you'd be able to actually pull it out and replace it while the manifold was in place. The other ones, apparently you can do that. This one you can't. So we're going to go ahead and get the manifold back in. You notice I've got the all the ports all cleaned up, vacuumed out. You can see down inside there, it's pretty clean. Brand new gaskets, so I'm going to go ahead and set this, and I say set this manifold in there because it's aluminum. It's pretty damn heavy. So leaning over the front here, I'm 63. I'm still strong, but I just had open heart surgery, and leaning my chest over the front here, yeah, it's kind of difficult. Just a fear of breaking it open, plus my back. So you probably hear me grunting a little bit when I'm doing it. I'm gonna try to keep that down. When I was at customers' homes, I always used to have to keep it down. They'd be like, "You okay in there?" Anyway, so we're gonna set this in here. Hopefully it goes in. The nice thing about these gaskets is they have pegs on them, pegs that go into the block, so that the gasket won't move when you're setting it on. That's the worst thing you could have happen, is set it in there and it knocks the gasket off, and then you get it on, it's not on straight. So here we go. I'll be turning this on and off. You'll tell that it was turned on and off, but I'll come back on when I get the manifold over here ready to lift in. Okay, so here we go. Got the manifold right here. I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up and go down in there, and it's easier said than done. My step stool keeps sliding back on me. If anybody has that happen, it's a pain in the butt. It happens all the time. I'm gonna kind of just slide this down like it's going down a ski slope, so I don't have to manually lift it in all the way. Okay, I think I got it in there. You can see it now. Just a matter of wiggling it in there and getting up there high enough to where you could pull up on it. As you saw, I climbed all the way in there. And now it's just basically putting all the fuel injectors. You can see the holes there. Fuel injectors, and for the COP, coil over plug, those are over here. Sure, you know what those look like. And getting everything back, thermostat, alternator's over there. Get everything back together, bolted up, throttle body. So I'm going to go ahead and start bolting this in, and I'm going to shut this off, and we'll get back when I get all the bolts in. Okay, so I'm going to go over just a couple of the parts I took out. This is the EGR valve. I think most people know what that looks like. That's the where the pipe goes into it, and then the vacuum's on top. So I cleared out the EGR valve. Inside the housing, the adapter that attaches to the throttle body, it gets plugged up with carbon really bad, and one of the ports goes through the EGR valve. So you'll get a code on it, a hard code, and then 042, something like that, or 040, I forget what it is, but it'll be obvious. And your performance is really crappy. Of course, it affects everything, fuel, everything. So, in taking the manifold out, I'm tripping over my wires here because I got this camera plugged in. If you see the pipe right back here, right here, that pipe right there, that's the right there. That's the pipe that goes in the EGR valve. And you can see the throttle body right there, right in the center, silver, right there. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm just putting the parts, getting the new parts and putting the parts, the gaskets and everything together here. So there's the old throttle body. One of the problems with this throttle body was this lighting sucks. It goes backlight and then you can't see the front of it. Over here on the left hand side, you see this piece right here, how it's missing here. It's really minor, but that's what holds the accelerator cable on. And this one broke off, and you can't get that piece separate. It clips on there. It's gone here. So I had to replace the, you can't get it separate. The lever you can't get separate. So you have to replace the whole throttle body. It's just ridiculous. So anyways, throttle body is going to be nice and clean. And then what you have to do is you have to, they have a term for it, of getting this back in sync, and it's basically just letting the truck run at idle. And then you can see here the old one. I cleaned it up, so it was actually in pretty good shape. I mean, I really got it clean. It was black. Carbon built up really bad on it. You can see there you go. That's how the other side was too. And inside. So this is going to be nice and new. This will help because it actually doesn't allow the flapper to open and close all the way. And you can see this one is absolutely closed. It's not open at all around the edges. So this will be nice to have this. So new gasket for the throttle body. New gasket for the old gasket. And thermostat was wow. I was really surprised at the color of this. I replaced a lot of thermostats, and you don't usually see them. This lighting sucks, I swear to God. Okay, there you can kind of see the rust. You can see the rust there. This thing is just completely rusted up inside, everything. You can see it better there. There. Now you can see it. Get the light away from it a little bit. Yeah, it's just totally rusted up, and that's not good because it's gonna probably hang up when it gets rusted up like that. And then, of course, this is the once again, this is the IMT intake manifold tuning valve. You can see there's a flapper on the back. This actually rotates. It's spring loaded, and this is a two wire coil. This coil, I always like it when I run into something and I check the coil. I couldn't get to it because if you notice here, like I showed you before, this is really, see how the body of the back side of the water pump, that's the back side of the water pump right there. Water pump's right there. That's the water pump. Back side of it, that's all metal. That's all cast. That's all one piece of metal there. You can't get the bolt out. You can this one, but you can't get that one out. And there's not enough room to pull it out anyways, even if you could get the bolt out. So you got to pull the whole manifold out. That's why you got to pull the manifold out. Okay, and this is only on a few years. The other years you can get in there and pull the they call it a runner valve on the other ones, the other years. So that's when I tested it. It was nice to see that the coil actually failed. Coil is about 1.7 ohms. But here's what I teach techs whenever all my 50 years, when I have a training center in I school and I train techs, and they're like, what's the ohms value? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so don't get hung up on looking up the specs of the ohms. Don't get hung up on that, guys. Just if you have, it's like a light bulb. Okay, do you know what the resistance value of the light bulb element is? No, and nobody cares. Okay, that's pretty much the way it is. If the element is good, in other words, the coil, in this case, because it's the same thing. On a light bulb, it's a wire. In a coil, it's a wire. It's just the wire doesn't get as hot. In a light bulb, it does. It burns. It burns bright, but it's strong enough to be able to not melt. In a coil, if it gets that hot, it's going to melt the wire because it's so thin also, and it's not made of a substance that's not going to melt at that temperature with that voltage. So the higher the voltage and current draw, the hotter it's going to get, and it'll light like a light bulb. So they're pretty much the same thing. They're an element. Okay. So the resistance value, don't get hung up on it. If it reads a value, it's good probably. Now on some electronics things, if the value is not correct, the resistance, like on a thermistor and that kind of thing, that's got to be accurate. So when they start to fail, the resistance can be bad because the coil will start to weaken. But on these kind of motors and stuff, this is actually a relay coil that turns on this motor to turn the flapper door. Okay, and so when this powers up and it's 12 volts, then it's going to turn the flapper. Okay, turns the flapper and redirects the air in the box, in the airbox channel. So this coil, when I pulled it out, was dead. It was open. It was broken. Open. No resistance. Okay? And so it was nice to have it fail that way, because then you don't know if it's the motor, or you don't know for sure when you take it out, if you put a new one in, if it's really going to work or not. I'm pretty confident it had a P1549 code, which was specific to the IMT and intake manifold turning valve, that this was defective. So when I checked the coil and the coil was open, I was pretty confident we nailed it for all the work that I had to do to pull this out. Okay, so that's the nice thing about having something just give you the right diagnosis, and you know for sure. That's not always the way it happens. A lot of times you pull it out, the coil check's good. It could be the gears in the motor could be, but you're not going to figure that out. You'd have to break the whole motor apart, the whole valve apart, and you know, it's just, you don't do that as a tech. You just hope that's the problem, and because the coil's okay, so it must be powering up. You could try to power it up and hear it click, 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 you know, and that's probably what it's doing if it's not the coil. So anyways, so that's the other thing I'm really happy about, is that was the reason I had to pull this apart. Plus I wanted to get all this other stuff fixed, just like this piece here. You can see it from the side where the cable, accelerator cable, clips on there, and it can't get it to clip on there, so I had to use ties to put it on there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back together now. I already did put all the bolts in around the sides on the all the way around. Oh, there's 4 on this, 4, and then 5, 6 for the thermostat housing, 2 here, and then 4 on the side, and then 4 on the side there. Those are all tightened up and ready to go. The nice thing about these gaskets underneath are they are pegged that go into the block, but they're not pegged going up. So when you put this on, you can slide it. It doesn't have to sit on pegs. The gaskets on the other side are pegged, so the gaskets will stay still when you put this on here and not dislocate it when you put the manifold back on. So that's nice that it's pegged and it stays in. So that's all buttoned up. Now I'm going to be putting the EGR valve on. The nice thing about this EGR valve, I did not loosen the pipe down to the header. This is a big bolt. I had to get a extra large crescent wrench because I usually don't have one this big, because not in anything that I do I need this, but on the car you do. For this one bolt, that nut right there is a big but I didn't loosen it at the other end. It's a nightmare getting that back together. I've had to do it before. I did it last time I took this apart, and then getting them lined up, oh, it's a nightmare. So leave that one alone. If you don't touch the one down on the header, down below, down by the wheel down here. Going into the pipe, the exhaust pipe, and the catalytic converter. This will line back up. It should be right in the right place. You might have to push it back a little bit, but it will flex a little bit. But you can get it back into the EGR and then get it tightened up. So that's where I'm at now. I'm going to start putting these pieces back together. Put the throttle body on. Put my hoses back on. Put the EGR back on. And then before I put the EGR on, I'm going to put my you can see down inside there, you can see the holes right there. That's your there's two different sized holes. The small holes, the bigger holes are the COP, the coil over plug, and then the smaller hole will be for the fuel injector, and the fuel injector rails over to the right there. I don't have it hanging on there yet, but that's what I'm going to do next. Then I'll get back. I'm going to turn the camera off while I'm doing it. No sense in sitting there watching, making a 4-hour video. But that's the next step, is to get those on there, and then get the hardware on for the power steering reservoir, and it's just a bracket that goes across there, and you'll see in the next video. Okay, so I'm going to shut it off for now, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you a little closer here. Yeah, this is so much more difficult with a camera. So if I speak French, pardon me. You can see I got two of the fuel injectors in. Next one goes right here. Next one goes here. That's where the plug goes. Plug, 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 plug. Sorry, plug, 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 plug. And then the same thing on the other side. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and put these in. This just takes a second to do, but I just want to show you, in case somebody's never done it before, what you should do when putting it in. Hopefully you can see that okay. Okay, trying to do is you're going to take the go ahead and get your fuel injector out. Okay, so what you got here is take your caps off. Make sure that the O-ring is on both ends. It's there. But I leave the cap on the top one after I put some oil on it. You got a zoom spout. I just want to put a little bit of oil on. On the O-ring. Just a little bit. Don't overdo it. You just want to get it wet. That's it. I'm having a problem getting this oil out of there. Just wipe it around and then do it on the other one also. Should be nice and shiny when you get it on there. Now, I'm going to try to stay out of the way. I'm going to put this in the hole and I'm going to wobble it back and forth, but I'm going to push on the top of it. That's why I need the plastic cap on there. Just kind of wobble it back and forth and it'll push in. Just wobble it slightly back and forth, then pull the plastic cap off and get the other one, the next one. I've got one more and I'll have all four on this side. If you've never done this, it's pretty self-explanatory, but some people have never done it and they just have no clue, so that's why I'm kind of going over it. Same thing with this one. Put a little bit on there. Just wipe it around, all the way around it. And then pull the cap off and do the other side. Like I say, it doesn't have to be one. You're just putting a thin film of it on there. That's it. Okay, next one, set it on top, leave the plastic cover on the top. Wiggle it back and forth and push down. Some of them are a little bit harder to get in than other ones. The other thing you want to make sure of, I made sure when I pulled the original ones out that the O-ring came with them. Half of the time the O-ring stays inside, either in the rail or in the intake manifold. So you want to pick it out of there. Make sure you don't have two O-rings by the time you put a new one in, because you didn't realize the other one stayed in there. So make sure you take the old one out. That there's an O-ring on both ends of the old fuel injector. If there's one missing and there's only one, then you got to dig it out of either the rail, fuel rail, or the injector, intake manifold. Okay, so that's all ready to go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the this is the coil COP. This is the COP, coil over plug. Okay, so this boot, I'm going to put some dielectric grease in here. I failed to do that last time I put these in, and I couldn't hardly get these out. They get so hot that they stick to the rubber. The plug does. And you're going to be sorry if you don't put this dielectric grease on. About $10. It's not cheap, but it helps a lot in getting them back out. And same thing, you're just going to put a little bit of it. Don't get carried away. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit of this in here. Just cover up the end of it, and then when it pushes in, it'll lubricate the inside of it. I'm going to actually do the outside of it just a little bit too, because it tends to stick on the manifold. Okay. I know it's hard to see. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in the back one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just push down on it. I just kind of keep pushing on it, but you got to get the mounting hole. Look at the intake. There's going to be a mounting spot for it on the intake where this mounting hole goes, and most of these go towards the back on the right side. The mounting hole is towards the back. So, and when it's towards the back, when the mounting hole's towards the back, this curves to the left. The bore goes into the left to the plug. So these should all be pointing into the left on the right side. Same thing, I'm going to put some more dielectric. Inside, and then I'm going to do it on the outside. I don't want it to stick on the intake manifold or on the plug, because it gets very hot. Same thing, mounting hole towards the back. goes in towards the left and pushes down onto the top of the plug. You can't miss it, because it goes right onto the top of the plug. So the wire inside, there's a wire inside, spring, looks like this. See the spring? That pushes down onto the plug. That goes inside the rubber. Right now it's in. I have to get a new one because two new ones because they stuck and broke apart, and they get really hard too. Okay, next one. Dielectric grease. On the outside. And then same thing, hole towards the back. Hole towards the back. This curves to the left. You can see it curving to the left. The hole towards the back. Okay, now I'll try to zoom this in so you can see the last one where the hole is, the mounting hole. You see it right there? See the hole? And right behind the hole, there's where the plug goes in. Right behind it there is the hole. This damn truck's in my way, and I can't move this, point this thing in the right direction. Okay, there's right there is where the boot goes in. Right there. Is the mounting hole. There's the boot, there's the mounting hole. Okay, you can see them both there in that picture. At the bottom, and then just, you'll see them in a second when I put it in there. One last one on the right side. Same thing. Dielectric grease. And then I'm just smearing it on. I'm not putting a whole bunch, just smearing it on there. Same thing. These are usually 8mm, but some of mine are 7. For some reason, that somebody else had taken this apart at one time, I think, and they put different screws in, but they're usually 8mm. These are 7s. One of them's an 8. The front one was an 8, and the others are 7s. Yeah, I don't know why that's the case, but it is. Get those in there good and firm. Firm is the word I'm using. Don't crank on them. Just get them in there good and firm, and then just like, a little bit more. But that's it. They're not going nowhere. Okay. Now I gotta find my 7. Okay, I finally found the 7. It was right in front of me, of course. Like it always is. And now I got my ratchet put over there, so I gotta go get it. I don't know if you have never noticed on the extensions that there's a coarse part of it. The extension's smooth on the side, except for one part of it has kind of a coarseness to it. Let's say you can swivel it easier. You get a grip. Most people know that, but if you don't use tools much, that's what that coarseness is about. I usually try to screw in by hand if I can. My fingers get sore sometimes. Like right now, they're really dry. You get dry crack, and it kind of hurts. But do it by hand. One more. Now you got to do this by feel. You can't. That's where experience is a lot easier for experienced guys. We just are used to feeling. This one doesn't want to screw in, so freaking easy. Sometimes if the screw gets just slightly tipped sideways, it'll bind up. And that's what this one was doing. For the first couple threads, and it didn't want to start. Now it's turning. That's why you got to be really careful about cross threading. You got to go straight down when you put the screw in. You get it tipped at an angle because you're coming from the front like this. You're going to end up cross threading it. So if it's tight, it doesn't want to go in, you got to wiggle it around, push it back, push it aside, even back it up sometimes. Start over, but don't just keep turning. If you do that, you're going to end up cross-threading it, and you're going to have a problem. If it stops and it doesn't go in easily, stop, reposition it, back it out a little bit, start over. Okay, that's all those. Now we're going to put the wire, the clips and connectors. These have a really small click. You can't hardly feel, you almost feel it, but you can't hear it. So don't just keep forcing on it. You get it all the way on, it looks like it's all the way on, it's on all the way on. It ain't going nowhere. These harnesses are so short that they're not gonna let it come off. I gotta get this up. Now, I usually get the back one first, because it's the hardest one to get on. The back one first, and you go in the center. And you gotta put pretty much all your weight on it. And you'll feel it kind of click, go over the rubber seal. And then you look at the rail where it attaches, and make sure the screw holes are lined up with the brackets. If they are, it's all the way down. If it's not, then it's not all the way down. It's that simple. It's really important to get those all the way in, because if you don't, they're going to leak. And you're going to lose a lot of gas, and it's a potential fire. When that gets on the manifold, you're going to have a fire, possibly. What's leaking that bad going down the motor. So you got to make sure you get this on. And the first time when you start it, you're going to come out here really quick, and look under here. And make sure smell and look in the flashlight. Make sure there's no gas spraying out. Really, really important. I've had it happen, so it's not fun. You're in a rush, really quick to shut the truck off and just hope it doesn't catch fire, but if you just started it, it's probably not hot enough, so it probably will be fine. You just want to get it shut off. Same thing with these screws. You're not gonna crank these down. You're just going to get them good and tight. Just, that's it. The thing you're going to fight with is, that's why I keep changing the extensions. You say you got pipes in the way and all that, so you got to keep changing extensions to have it the right size to go around the pipe. Inside, like I am now, because I can't really go outside, there's too much stuff over there, just in this small space. It's a pain in the butt. But you do small movements, it takes forever to get the screw in, but that's the way it is. Now this one wants to loosen up. Right when I get close to the end, so I'm going to have to swivel the extension by hand, not the ratchet, because it won't hold it won't keep ratcheting because it's too loose. It ratchets all the way up to almost the end, and then it got loose. That's the way the threads are sometimes. I always want to mess with you. Sometimes they're all the way tight, all the way up. It's real pain in the butt when they're like that. Okay, so those are tight. And what you want to do is you want to tighten everything up as you go through. So that way you don't miss something and you have to go back and you left a screw loose, a bolt loose. Now I know that both of those, I did them right away. Both of these brackets, I tightened them up right away after I put it on. I didn't put it on and then I'll get back to those later. No. Finish up what you're working on. Mount it. Tighten the bolts. Then you will go on to the next thing. Now, one thing I did not do is I didn't attach the two last clips because I had to get the fuel rail up so I could put the two last clips on because I couldn't reach them with the fuel rail in my way. So now I'm going to put those two on and keep that in your memory. If you do have something like that, if you have bad memory, write it down. Put the last two clips on. This last clip's a pain in the butt. I can't even see it. I can't see it. It's back behind the wall, by the firewall. Yeah, here it is. There we go. Got it. Sometimes they do that. I just want to mess with you. Okay, so that's all in. That side's all in. Okay, you see that now? Okay, now you can see it. Jesus. Can't believe I'm having so much trouble. This camera. I've got this camera on a tripod, so I'm having to manipulate this big long tripod around the truck, in front of the truck, and that's the problem. In the box that I have it sitting on. But that's all together there now. Now I got to get the EGR valve on and the throttle body, and I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a second, take a break real quick. I will be right back. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put the gas lines on. They're back there. They push on to the back of the rail. I'm going to do it from the side so you should be able to see it. I don't know if you can see those. There's the gas lines, and they push onto the back of the rail here. And then there's a clip, locking clip that goes on. You got to put the locking clip on. Do not forget to do that. This thing comes off for some frickin' reason. While you're driving, you're going to have a potential fire. The worst part about these fuel lines is getting them off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this camera down, take it off the tripod, and show you what I was just doing. Okay. Right here. Let me bring this out. These are the two fuel lines here. This one and this one. These two. So they clip back on. And then there's a clip on the top. That's the fuel line right there. That's the clip. This one is underneath. There we go. That's both fuel lines right there. And then you can see the clips on top of them that clamp around them. And the gas line comes in from the back. You see it? And it goes right into the rail there. It goes right into the rail here. Okay, so that's the right side. I'm going to put the EGR valve on now. You put the EGR valve on first. It's going to be in your way trying to do these COPs and the coil over plug and the fuel injectors. So you got to do things in the right order, or you make a lot more trouble for yourself trying to get around these. So now this is going to be right in the way. If I had to put this on, the CGR, it'll be right in the way of the fuel rail and all of what I just did. That's why I waited to put this on. Now I got to move this out of my way. The damn power cord. I got too many damn power cords going on here. Just ridiculous. And when you put this on, you're gonna push it into the tube first and then position it for the screw holes. Don't try to line up the screw holes first. You gotta put it on the tube first and push back, because this tube's pushing forward some, so I have to push back on it. Okay. And hold your gasket so you don't lose it. It'll fall down into the manifold and it'll be hard to get out of there. You don't need that kind of a headache. That's why my left hand is up there. The only purpose is positioning and holding that gasket so it doesn't fall out. And if the torque on the bolt is not tremendous, I prefer to use a 1/4" ratchet. It's a lot smaller when you're in smaller space like this. It's a lot easier to manipulate. The only reason you're using a 3/8 or 1/2" ratchet is because the torque on the bolt has to be so tight. You don't want to break your tool. Yeah, this, I don't like this gasket. It's making me thread it through the gasket and it's pissing me off, because usually you can just, the only thing you start threading it is the bolt hole. But this, when you start thinking that you're going to start threading it, usually it's the bolt hole that you're worried about. In this case, it's the stupid gasket that's wanting to thread. So I'm fighting with the gasket. That's unusual. Usually that gasket is cut bigger than the hole. Than the bolt, excuse me. A lot of this stuff's aftermarket anymore, so it's not exact. And that's where you get this kind of stuff. Now I don't go one bolt tight. Keep them even, because if you do one all the way in and then the other one, you're gonna put the part on at an angle. Don't do that. Go back and forth. Try to keep the part even, especially with the gasket. You don't want to crank down on one side on the gasket and the other side's not even started yet, hardly. Don't do that. You're going to screw up the gasket. You want them to both put pressure on the whole surface at one time. So it's flat across the whole surface of the gasket, not just on one side and then the other side. You're going to indent it, put a crease in it. Now this one needs to be tight. I always go tight, and then I do both of them again. Because sometimes when you tighten the last one, the other one loosens up slightly. Do it till you have both of them tight twice. Okay, now I can start the bolt with that. This one is kind of fights with you because the tube is putting pressure on it. And it might be at a slight angle. So you got to kind of straighten the tube out as you're starting the thread. I got to get this nut out of my hand before I drop it. I'm just going to stick it on here for the time being. So I don't drop it. I need both hands. Start this nut. Now the other thing I'm going to do is, I remember this is kind of rusted and dry. The thread's really dry because it gets so hot. So I'm actually going to put some oil on here, and it'll actually thread a lot easier also. I don't know what the hell is going on with this. It's getting low, I guess. Be careful not to put too much on here because I don't want to have oil dripping all over the motor. So when it gets hot, okay, I got it. It just took a matter of pulling the tube towards me a little bit because it was starting at an angle. Okay. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. That's the nut right there. And you see how brown that tube is? It gets really hot. It comes right from the exhaust. So that's it. Okay, so I gotta tighten that up. Can't forget to finish tightening that. That's where that big wrench comes in. Right here. That's a big wrench. There's not much room in here to do this. Just enough. Make sure this thing is perfectly tight in the nut. My chair is like, damn it. my step stool is pushing back, it's sliding on the floor. It just irritates me when it does that. I've almost fallen before. There's rubber pegs on the bottom of it, but still it slides because you're at an angle here. And I'm trying to get some leverage, and I'm pushing back on my feet to get leverage off the floor, but damn chair step stool moves. And it moves away from the truck, so it wants to throw me on the floor. I don't know if I can get this back on down here or not. But can would be nice because I get more leverage pulling up. Or lower angle. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, I get more leverage down here. Damn it. Okay, so that's that. No use for that tool. Okay, so E-jar's in. Now we need to put these hoses back on. This bracket goes on the EGR valve here. You gotta get these on, and if they're not tight, you gotta replace them. Because these, if they leak, then you're gonna have a leak in your evaporative system. You get this is your vacuum lines, part of the vacuum lines, and if you have a leak, you're going to lose your vacuum. You have to have that vacuum. Okay. So this one goes here. The other one I'll do from the back. And then we got Now I gotta go put the other side, the other COPs and fuel injectors on the left side. I'm gonna take a break real quick. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the throttle body on before I do the injectors on the left. So I'm gonna go from the right to the center and then to the left in a minute. So with the throttle body over here and gasket and bolts. There's the throttle body, there's the gasket. Don't drop it, like I almost did. Too many tools in my hand. Start with just what you need. Have the other ones close to you. And I always put the bolt in through the gasket first so that you don't mess up the gasket trying to get the bolt in after. And I actually like to use a longer extension so that I can keep my arm back on the above the radiator instead of killing my back by leaning over with a bigger ratchet, a shorter ratchet extension. Don't tighten these bolts up. Just enough to where they reach the surface. You gotta leave it loose so the other line, if the other holes aren't exactly lined up, that you can kind of move the body of the throttle a little bit so that the other holes will line up better. They're not always perfect, so there's no studs in them that sets it just in a perfect position, and there's always a little slop in the hole with the screw. So you always see how the slop is? Ouch. Okay, another one. These bolts, it's amazing how long they make a lot of these bolts, and they can be half the size. It's ridiculous, and there's no reason for it. It's not like it has to go in for torque purposes or anything. It doesn't. back. I'm afraid this chair, this step stool is going to slide on me, leaning forward so much. It's always easier to tighten pushing down or pulling towards you if you have leverage. But down is always the easiest because your body's your leverage and you push it away from yourself. Okay, so that's done. Now, go ahead and plug these in while we're here. Like I said, finish when you put something on, finish it. Okay? There's another component that goes here that plugs into. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my tuning valve. The main problem for getting in here doing this, pulling the intake out. Okay. Don't forget to plug these things in. That's why when you're there, do it. Plug it in. This is still waiting for a component, so everything else is plugged in. You see everything's plugged in now. Down there. Okay. Now, what I could do now is, and I might do, since I'm right here, to get it out of my way, because it's in my way over here to the left, is to go ahead and do the alternator. Get it out of my way over here to the left, bring it back over to the center where it belongs, and install it. At the same time, before I do that, I'll bring my speedometer cables up. This is the way I had it before because I couldn't get it to hold on to that piece that was broken. So now I can clip those off there. There's ties. All I have to do is find they're right in front of me. Of course, that's where they always are. You always got to look there first, because I never do, and I walk around looking for them, and they're right in front of me. So let's clip these off here. Okay. this thing to feed in from the back. Feed that in from the back. Goes in from the side and then into the back, and then this one clips on. I was leaning on this. I've never had one of these break. It's just plastic that you have to do it. You have to clip it on there gently. Just kind of rotate it back and forth till it clips. But I was. These bolts are still in here. I have a habit of doing that, putting bolts back in after I take them out so they're where they're supposed to be. That helps not mixing up bolts when you're putting stuff back together. Everybody's done it. I don't like to do that. I like the exact same bolt going in the same holes. So that's the easiest way to do that, is to just, when you take the bracket off, put the bolts back in, and then when you get back to it, you just pull them out. You're right there. You don't have to find the bolts. Eight millimeter also. A lot of these are 8mm. It's convenient. 8 or 10. The only one that was 7 was the fuel injection mounting screws. Again. I hate it when it does that right when I'm on the spring. Gets loose and it won't ratchet. Okay. So that's that. And then normally I would put the spring on, but I dropped the spring. It has to be on the ground. I'll worry about that later. So the other thing I need to do is put the thermostat in. It'll be easier to do the alternator first because the hose is going to be in the way from the thermostat. So I'll do the alternator first. Let's get this out of the way. I should wire this 3 or 2 before I put the alternator in. I'm going to run this. This goes to the back, up here. Okay. from here. Some here. Be careful not to drop these bolts because they're going to end up down in the bottom of the, or underneath. I mean, you have a magnet that you can put down in there, but they'll drop down underneath the manifold in the well there. Okay, let's move something here. Now, I gotta look here, I gotta look and see if that's gonna go under. I think it's gonna go under. Yeah, it's gonna go under. There's the ports underneath it. So, otherwise it would go up and over. But the port's down below, so it's going to go under it. Okay, and those are 10s. That's done. Okay. This goes up here. Goes down here, under the gas radiator, fuel radiator. Let's go up here, into the EGR, vacuum lines. God damn it. Okay. This goes back up here. Once again, it's 8mm, 5/16, same thing. Don't over tighten that. It's a plastic tee. You crack the tee, you just need it to bite into it. The rubber will seal to the plastic with good pressure. It doesn't have to be excessive. Bleeding pretty good. Okay, got the bleeding under control. Now we put the alternator in. Bolts down below. That was in. lift up on this to get the bolt hole lined up, and the screw turns a lot easier when you lift up. The other thing you can do is tighten the bolt up on the top, and it'll pull it up. And then it also help. It's 10 millimeter. So to get this tightened up, we'll put the belt back on, so we don't forget to do that when we start it. Remember, just like I said, when you finish one component, finish it completely. That way you don't have to go back or you forget something. Well, I know I put the alternator in, yeah, but you didn't put the belt on. Start it up, you're going to have an issue. When you count the bolts that you tighten, just remember, and if you're not sure, then go back. I usually go back on the bolts just to make sure I didn't forget one. Like I'm going to come back up here and make sure I tighten this all the way. And I did. I just did those two, so I know those are done. Okay. Now, we go ahead and get this hose out of our way. Thermostat housing. Clean it up a little bit. Get my thermostat and the seal. It's so long since I put one of these in. I don't know if the O-ring goes on top or on bottom. I believe it goes on top. Because this squeezes down into it. And it seals between the housing and the rubber. Yeah, because you wouldn't want it on top or below, because the water's going to come up through there and it could possibly leak between the housing and the metal. Two pieces of metal, so you want the O-ring on top. Good. So put just as kind of a practice, I'm going to put a little bit of this down here. Put some around here too. I just definitely don't want any leaks. Shouldn't be with a new seal, but I don't know. I don't normally do this type of thing, because when there's a seal, but when you get these motors, they get so hot, and you get any kind of warping or anything, it's always possible that it might not be absolutely flat. So I'm not going to put This is how I broke that before. I put my hand on that outside. I'm not touching that this time. Just put it on the housing. I was over on the left side there, getting all the way in the back. And grab a hold of that and look it. nothing worse than breaking something when you're working on, you're not even working on that. I can't stand it when I do that. These are 10mm. Good. Alright, now put the belt back on. Now, let's see if this belt came off any other pulleys before I go put it in. Kinda. There we go. Alright. Damn it. Okay. Okay, belt's back on. Got it. Okay. Okay, so right side, center's done. Now just the left side, fuel injectors and COPs, and we should be done. Let's do the fuel injectors first. Okay, that's one. This is the harder side to do. There's not a lot of room over here. Just remember when you put it in, wiggle it back and forth, and go down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the connector on while I'm here. but I don't have to go back. What I have to do is I have to take the rail off, the bolts loose, lift it up and put it down onto these after I get them in. Cap back on the top so you can put the cap. Fuel injector. I don't want to get anything in the top of the fuel injector. Put the connector on right away. I know I have it plugged in. Some oil on the O-ring. Cap back on the top. Connecting on. There's a cutout on the connector on one side. It's flat on one side and there's a cutout on the other. The cutout goes up. Okay. Last one. And then the 4 cops, COPs, and we'll pretty much be close to being done. Cap back on top, oil on the bottom, O-ring. Fuel injector. Okay. Last one in. Wiggle it back and forth. I'm going to leave that one loose. Then get this rail off. I got to lift the rail up and push it down on top of all the 4 injectors to seal the top O-rings on the top of the injectors. Okay, screws are out. Let's set those down so you drop them. Rail up. And the cap's something. Push the last one in all the way. off the top. Push this down into the injectors. Rail. Main thing is you got to make sure that you get on top of each one of the injectors. You could possibly get it to where you miss, where one of them kind of tips sideways and misses the, you just wing it. Okay, it looks like it went all the way in now. Maybe just at a wrong angle or something. Hard to say. Maybe just that little bit more oil. Get it. Screw holes are lined up, so that means it's all the way down. That's the key. If the screw holes are too high and they won't go into the manifold, it's not down all the way. Once it's down all the way, the screw holes are lined up, and it just screws right in easily. Okay. Alright, so that's and these are $8mm. Once again, everything's got to just swivel on it. Can't just be tight enough to open some ratchets. You gotta use both hands. Okay, that's good. I'm surprised that spring's gone. Strange. Okay, okay, so now we gotta put the boots in. COPs in. Okay, wait, I gotta plug this last injector in. Okay. I gotta put the COPs in, screw those in, plug them in, and that's it. Just about there. It's labor. It's what it is. It's just labor. It's not like it's really difficult. There's a couple things that are difficult, but it's just labor. It takes time to do it. Okay, so there's another COP. I always keep these in order. I keep everything in order. Bolts, everything. I keep everything in order. These, you don't have to keep them in order, but it's habit when you're working on a motor. Keep everything in order. That way, even though these don't have to be in order, it's systematic, and you won't screw up. It'll save you. Just like bolts and everything else. Just keep everything in order. Okay, so we got to put some where the hell's it at? Dielectric grease in this. I just do it down. They don't tell you to do this, but I just want it to be slick on the sides so that it's not going to stick on the manifold also. I had a hard time getting two of these out, and I've never had that problem. So I don't know if it's quality of rubber that they're using now. Some of this aftermarket, all this Chinese stuff. Now these screw holes mounts are in front, so it's gonna angle to the back. To the right. It's gonna angle to the right. Screw holes in the front. And these are 7s. They're all 7mm except the one over here, the front one, because it's not the original. This was a 2-day job. I took my time doing it, as you can tell. No rushing, no reason to. Just do it right. This one's a little close, so that hose is in my way, so I'm going to take, instead of doing this at an angle that can get you in trouble, I'm going to get a shorter extension. Make sure I go straight up and down so that I don't end up screwing up. If you start going at an angle when you're screwing it in, you're gonna cross a thread. Don't think you're just gonna crank it in there and you're screwing up the thread. I'm going to do this by hand because I don't have much room here. It's loose enough so I can do it by hand. Okay. Keep in mind you don't want to crank too hard on that because it's got a plastic. It's got a sleeve in there, metal sleeve, but it's plastic. So you don't need to crank on this stuff. And that's the biggest problem for people that aren't used to it, is they just think they got to crank down and get it really, really tight. No. Don't do that. Okay, second one. Okay. There's just not a lot of room with these hoses over here on this right side. It's just a pain in the ass. There we go. And then I'll have to put coolant back into it, which I got. I'd let it out because I take the coolant line off the thermostat housing. That's the first thing I did. Just opened up the petcock over here. Why they make these damn things so long. Finally. Good Lord. Connector on. The back one back here is the hardest. It's way in the back. It's the hardest one to get. But what would have made this a little easier was to pull the rail up when I had it off, and put those in first, get the rail up out of my way, but it doesn't matter. If you're not replacing your injectors, you usually aren't going to pull the rail off because it's full of gas. If you're doing it as a maintenance thing, replacing your plugs or something. So, I'm not going to pull it off anyway. Just got to go around it. In this case, I'm going to pull the connector off the fuel injector because it's in my way. I can't see the hole. Now I can see the hole because the connector's out of my way. I can actually see the screw and get to it easier too. Okay. I'm going to take this off the back and to the fuel injector. Same thing so I can see the there's tabs on the side of these fuel injector connectors that you push in on the sides. Okay. Okay. I got everything out of my way. Put my finger back there so I can fill the hole, so I know where the hole is, because it's blind, you can't see it. So you just got to do it blind. I got a new boot because one of them broke, ripped apart. That's what's left of the old one. What did they do? Tape this to it? These frickin' idiots. Why would they do this? Why would they tape this? Are you kidding me? It's in a bag. You don't need to tape it. Jesus. Okay, so it's in the back and it's to the left. Yeah, this, I think these have some plastic in them is why they get stuck, because this doesn't feel like just rubber. It's just stuff we're getting now from China. Okay, it's not terrible. If you pull the connectors off, you can get right to it of the fuel injector. Two fuel injectors in front of it. You can see it and get to it a little easier. It is all the way in back though. That's too high. Take one extension off. Hopefully that'll work. Yep. That's too high to put the ratchet in there, so I gotta use a smaller one. Now, put the connections on from the back forward. This one first. Right. Fuel injector. Okay. CP. Next fuel injector. CP. Fuel injector. CP. Fuel injector. All right. Everything's in. Rails tightened up, everything's tightened up, everything's plugged in, we're good. Okay, now, I might just use the spring. This might be strong enough. Replace the other spring. Okay. So it looks good. Basically, that's it. For pulling the manifold and reinstalling it, pulling it is just the reverse of what I just did. You're going to take all each component off, and instead of watching this twice, you'll see, just watch it once and you can see what you need to do in reverse order. And it's just labor. It's just basically taking off each one of the components. So that's the key of the whole thing. It's just being able to have the right tools for one, and that's why I named out all the tools and mentioned some of the issues that you have with the extensions. You know, to be aware of that you need different size extensions. You constantly are switching extensions. If you haven't done service before, then you know, this is why I'm trying to share with those that haven't done service. I know mechanics and stuff, they know. So you just fast forward through these sections. But I want to make this so it's really helpful for those that want to do it themselves when they can't afford the mechanics sometimes. But as you can see, motor's back together. Everything's together. All I have to do now is put the blower, the air channel on to the throttle body and to the right over here to the filter. That's it. And we're done. And then I just have to put some top it off with coolant and then start it up, check for leaks, and our 15P1549 should be gone, error code, which meant that the IMT, the turning intake manifold tuning valve, as they call it, runner valve is called on other models, other years, but this one's called a intake manifold tuning valve, IMT. It's not available anymore. I do have availability of them. I have a source that I was able to come up with one that will work. Ford's not even aware of it, so if anybody needs that, get a hold of me. The years are 1997 through 2004 on the Expedition. There's other years on a couple other Ford 150 and Ford 150 Heritage. I think it is Heritage, and a Lincoln model. I've got it on eBay right now. If you look up the part number for it, for this, I'll put, if I post this, and I will be posting this, I'll put the part number, the original part number that's no longer available, so that you can actually search it by that part number and you'll find me. It's a replacement for the original. It's not the OEM original, but it's the quality Dorman part, and it's no longer available. You can't fix your truck. Now you can, if that's the problem. So it's $299. I did the work in bringing it to market and the engineering end of it to come up with a replacement. So I'm saving you buying a new vehicle if you can't, if that's the problem you're having. So, okay, if you need it, I've been able to bring it to market, so that's why I'm able to fix mine. So, all right, so it's Michael Riley, and I I do service, not just on cars, but I do air conditioning, Sub-Zero refrigerators. I manufacture refrigeration parts, evaporators, condensers, all that kind of stuff. So that's what my main work is now. I used to do service for 50 years. Now I'm manufacturing, and I do consulting, helping techs that have problems out there in the field. I actually I fly to different cities that customers can't find techs. It's just amazing. There's a lot of cities that they can't find anybody to fix their Sub-Zero refrigerator. It's an $18,000 refrigerator, so they want to fix it, and it's fixable. But their local guys don't know what they're doing, and Sub-Zero tells them they can't fix it because it's 20, 30, 40 years old. Yes, you can fix it. So I'm out there saving them 10, 15, 20,000, even more than that if you have to remodel your kitchen, because a lot of the newer ones aren't the same size, so you have to remodel the cabinets if you buy a new one. So anyways, another subject, that's my main work though. But I thought I'd put this together since I was doing it for people that like to fix their cars, and if they have this problem. It's a P1549, but it's also intake manifold, gaskets, and redoing the intake manifold, pulling it out, and redoing it. So any of that work on the intake manifold, which the P4, the tuning valve, you have to pull it out to do that. That's what this video is about. Okay, all right, take care. It's Michael Riley once again. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, even about doing repairs and stuff. Refrigerators. I don't do heating air anymore. I'm not even going to consult on it. It's a mess anymore. But if you got Sub-Zero, specifically Sub-Zero problems, let me know. I can help you. We can even Zoom it. I've done Zooms for 12 hours, helping guys do repairs for 12 hours. Yeah, more than once. There's a fee, but it's, my time's not free. But you're saving tens of thousands of dollars. So if you want help, I'm here to help. I'm more than happy to help. But that's my business. Okay? All right. Take care. Thank you. And hope to see you again and talk to you. And I hope this was helpful. Hit the subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. It's helpful. And like it if you like it. If you like the video. Okay? All right. Take care. Thanks. Bye.